What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, and then build them together. Now, on Tuesday, we actually took a look at the Totem Warrior Barbarian, and it very much exceeded our expectations and our test to see whether or not we needed to fix or build it, and so we are going to be building today. This thing is pretty fantastic. So before we get into it, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. It would be super nice if you would go ahead and do that, because tomorrow is my birthday, and so an amazing thing for me would be is if you would subscribe, if nothing else, for my birthday. A lot of people who watch this channel are not subscribed, and so please, let's get those numbers turned around where we have so many people subscribed and we've just got to go out and find more people. But yeah, right now we've got plenty of people, just nobody subscribed. So please go ahead, help us out with that, and leave me a comment down below, either saying happy birthday, which would be fantastic, or let me know what your spirit animal is. That's kind of the whole gist of this subclass, so I'd be interested to know. So for today's build, we're taking a bit of an interesting detour from our normal builds from the Barbarian. Every build that we've done so far has needed wisdom. Today we do not need wisdom, so that's cool. We're keeping it classy. I do want to say, if you're going for a truly optimized build, you probably don't want to multi-class. I'm just putting that out there. For today, I am doing some multi-classing because I wanted to have some interesting flavor in there and show you some really interesting things. This build is more for a level 20 battle royale, or just fighting something at level 20. You basically are going to be unkillable at level 20, and you're still going to be very good going up to that point, don't get me wrong. But yeah, this thing is insane at level 20, and so if you get a chance to do something like this at that point, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and you're just never ever gonna die. So that's gonna be really fun. I hope you're looking forward to that. So let's go ahead and jump into it for today. Of course, all of our honorable mentions of other builds that I considered will be at the end of the video, and also I've already gotten comments asking for specific types of builds, so something a little bit more simple maybe than what we're doing today, focusing on the eagle, focusing on the elk, something like that. Today we're just doing more of a generic build, but in the future I definitely will do some extra builds, just because there's 15 different possibilities if you get to level 14 in the class, and so that's a lot of different things. Spoiler alert, we're not going to make it there today. We're taking a very deep dive into our multi-class, and I think you're really going to think it's really cool. So let's go ahead and jump in for our race. We're doing something we haven't done yet on the channel, and we're going Earth Genasi. I really like Genasi personally. They are a really cool race. You're basically just a baby elemental. At least that's the closest thing that you could say. You're just a tiny elemental, but a person, and it's pretty neat. You get some pretty cool stuff. We went with Earth because it's going to double down on what we're doing for multi-classing, and it also already lines up our skill points the way that we want them to be. So +2 constitution, +1 strength, that's already fine. So we're just going to stick with what we got. Of course, in Tasha's you can change whatever you want, but we're going to stick with what we got for today because it works. It works out for the build, so I'm all about it. We also ignore difficult terrain that's made of earth or stone, so depending on your situation, that could be really good, but somewhat situational. And lastly, not situational, is that we can cast Pass Without Trace once per long rest. That is a really cool spell. I really like Pass Without Trace personally. It's not something you're going to be using in combat, so it's not going to conflict with rage, so it's totally fine. And by the time that you rage anyway, if you have to end the effect of this spell, no big deal, because rage is completely the opposite of what Pass Without Trace does, and adding 10 to any of your friends' stealth rolls, which is pretty cool. So I thought that it really doubled down on what we're going for here, and so we're gonna work on that together. So let's see what we got for ability scores. Ability scores, of course, we're using our modified standard array like always, and we're gonna put 17 in strength, 15 constitution, 13 dex, 12 wisdom, 10 charisma, 8 intelligence. This is our optimal way of doing our spread, especially for just a standard build, but it also works for this build too. Even though we're multi-classing, that covers what we need for multi-classing. So we don't have to do anything fancy, which is absolutely amazing. For equipment, we do need a couple of things specific. You know, normally I just say, you know, you could take this weapon or this weapon or this weapon. We need specifically a rapier on this build. There's not another option, basically. Yeah, we're gonna need a rapier, and we're probably gonna just use that our entire career. I know that it's only a D8, but we need it in order to make that D8 go insane. So we're also going to take scale mail for now. You know, we've got this bump with Pass Without Trace to our stealth, so that helps to balance out the disadvantage, which is really cool. And later we're going to actually take advantage of our unarmored defense, but for right now we're going to just stick with armor because it's just a little bit higher. And finally, make sure you take athletics proficiency. You will definitely want that. The other one is totally up to you, but yeah, athletics is definitely one that that I would pick up here because it's very, very handy. I would definitely try to also get something like stealth. Stealth is also really, really nice. And, you know, if you can also get perception, of course, we're talking about dipping into a background here as well. So, you know, something to think about. But those three are really, really nice. Athletics, stealth, and perception. And then the last one's kind of optional. Nature fits the build, but you could do anything you want with it. So yeah, that is our basics out of the way. So let's go ahead and start taking levels. So let's jump into this build. Level 1, we are of course taking Barbarian. It is part of our rules for this series is that we must start with this level. We're actually going to be stretching all of our rules in this build because we're actually taking a 9-level detour into another class during this build, which is pretty cool. We haven't gone that deep into another class yet. And so I'm excited to do this deep of a multi-class. It's almost half and half. It's really close, but our rules are we can only do 9 levels of another class, and we have to take at least the majority of the levels in our featured class. And so we're meeting all of those to their limits in today's video. But at level 1, we get Rage and Unarmored Defense. For right now, Unarmored Defense is worse than Scale Mail, so we're gonna go ahead and stick with our Scale Mail at least until level 4, and then we will drop it. So don't worry, we're not gonna have disadvantage on Stealth for very long. It's just to make sure our AC is a little bit better than maybe it normally would be. Barbarian 2, we get Danger Sense, and this is going to give us advantage on our dexterity saving throws, which is fantastic, as long as we can see what's coming, but most of the time you're going to, and we're going to take something a little bit later to help with that, so don't worry. And then Reckless Attack as well. We're going to be using this every single turn. This is going to be absolutely crucial to this build. It is a wonderful feature, and you're going to see why here in just a little bit. Barbarian 3, we get our subclass, and so we are going to be, of course, taking the Totem Warrior. And so we get Spirit Seeker, so we get a couple new spells that we can cast as rituals, and we get to pick a Totem Spirit, and we're, of course, going to pick Bear. This character is going to literally just, like, not die, okay? This is a tank build. We're not here necessarily for damage, but our damage is going to be pretty good. It's not going to be terrible damage, but we're going to be really, really bulky and really hard to kill. So don't you worry, this is going to be great. So now we have resistance to everything but psychic, which is most everything, and I love that. We also get primal knowledge here, which is cool because if you weren't able to pick up any of those skills that I recommended, as far as like athletics and stealth and that sort of thing, then here's a great way to pick those up. I really love that they're making the Barbarian able to take more skills than it would normally, because usually it's just kind of you know, class and background, and that's it. So if you weren't able to take any of those skills, or there's just others you want to take, you have a chance right here. We also get a third Rage here, which we're going to be we're only going to have 3 rages for a very long time, and then we're only going to get 4 by the end of the build. So just something to keep in mind. We're not going to have a ton of rages, but honestly, it's fine. I don't think you need more than 3 or 4. I really don't, unless your DM is just trying to be really mean to you. I really don't think that you need more, so I think it's great. Level 4, we are Barbarian 4, of course, and we are getting an ASI or a feat. There is one feat that I want to take in this build, but I'm going to put it off. I don't think it's so important that I take it right now, so I'm okay with putting it off for a little bit and instead take a +1 Constitution, +1 Dexterity. So this gets our Dex up to +2, our Constitution up to +4, and this is going to be nice. This is really, really helpful. We now can get rid of our Scale Mail because we're doing better than that with our Unarmored Defense, so that's awesome too. We no longer have our disadvantage on Stealth, and just in time for us to multi-class. So level 5, we're going to begin our descent into the darkness, I guess, and we're going to start our multi-class. I know what you're thinking, Dapper. 1 more level and you get extra attack. What are you doing? I know I'm putting off extra attack for a few levels, but it's okay because we're going to get some extra damage anyway from what we're doing. But so just stick with me. We will get it. Don't worry. We will get extra attack. But it's a little more important to me that we take a couple of other things before we do it. So we are going to be putting it off for a little while, unfortunately. We're going to be multiclassing into Rogue. We have not actually talked about the Rogue on the channel yet. I don't know how I've not made a multiclass into Rogue yet, but it fit way too well on this build. And it's a subclass that I really like, but I also have a few problems with. And once we get to one of the features, I'm gonna want your opinions in the comments down below on how you rule these things, or how maybe your DM has ruled these things if you've seen one of these before. There's something kind of broken about this subclass, and I don't mean broken as in really good. I mean broken as in like it doesn't account for something that is very major, and so we will talk about that when we get to it. So anyway, we get a few things from being a rogue. I will go into detail on them a little bit just because we have not talked about the rogue here, but once we get to the rogue in our build guides, we will go into a lot of detail there. So this is kind of the fast version of it, but we get expertise here at level 1, and this is going to allow us to double our proficiency bonus on 2 skills of our choice. I recommend athletics and stealth. Athletics is going to give you a bonus to your grapple checks, and I absolutely love that. So yeah, definitely take that. And then stealth. Our dexterity is not great, so having this boost to our proficiency bonus is going to be wonderful, especially comboed with Pass Without Trace. Gonna help us to be really, really sneaky, especially since we just threw our scale mail in the trash. So I love that. Sneak attack here is the main reason why we're taking this. And it's not the main reason actually, but it is definitely a very enticing reason. So right now it's 1d6, and if we're wielding a finesse weapon and we meet a couple of other criteria, such as either we have advantage on the strike, or an ally is within 5 feet of it and no other creatures and that sort of thing. There's a bunch of rules with it. We're not going to go into a ton of detail on it, but I'm just going to show you how we are meeting criteria. Then you get some extra damage on your attack, and that's once per turn. Keep in mind that this is once per turn, not once per round. So if you make an attack of opportunity, sneak attack does apply. Just keep that in mind. It is worded that way. Some people think it doesn't, but it does. It applies to attacks of opportunity, which is why Sentinel is really good on these multi-classes. We're actually not taking that. That's actually not what we're doing. But yeah, so how we are meeting it. We need advantage on the strike, and that's where Reckless Attack comes in. Reckless Attack is going to give us advantage on all of our strikes as long as we don't have disadvantage from some other form. And so yeah, we meet it there. So we've got our sneak attack and our finesse weapon, which is our rapier. This is why we needed it specifically and why there was only one choice. You could have taken a short sword, but you'd have been disappointed because that's only a d6 damage, and we wanted the rapier, which is a d8, so a little bit more damage that you're doing. And so yeah, it's a really cool combination. I really, really like it. And plus you're adding rage damage on top of your sneak attack damage. So yeah, we're starting to cook with some gas here, and this will continue to go up as we go. Thieves' Cant also is the secret language of rogues, and so you just kind of can scribble some stuff on the wall, and then other criminals are going to be like, oh hey, I know those scribbles, and that's about it. It's cool though. It's really neat. It gives you a way to communicate with other rogues. If that's relevant in your campaign, it may or may not be. Hopefully your DM will throw some of that stuff in there. Rogue 2, level 6, we get Cunning Action, and this gives us a lot of really good things that we can do with our bonus action. So Barbarians, after we rage, there's not a whole lot to do with our bonus action. At least if you're not dual wielding, which I don't like dual wielding. I don't like it personally. It seems bad. But so yeah, we're gonna definitely use this all the time. But it allows you to disengage, dash, or hide as a bonus action. So this is great because again, we are wanting to close the distance and be within 5 feet of somebody. This allows us to dash as a bonus action and still have our attacks. That is wonderful. I absolutely love that. So definitely something that you want to do. The other thing is that we can now disengage as a bonus action. This combos really well with one of the 14th level totems that allows you to do extra damage as long as you move 20 feet towards the target. So what you can do is just dash the first turn, then you've moved 20 feet and get in their face, attack, extra damage, then use your bonus action to disengage, back up 20 feet, run at them again, deal some extra damage to them again. So yeah, you can cheese it that way. So that's where Cunning Action definitely comes into play. We're not going to be doing that in this build because we're not actually taking enough levels in Barbarian to do it, but something to think about. Then level 3, we get to pick our subclass, and this is a subclass that I have a very love-hate relationship with just because of one of the features being absolutely broken. We're not there yet. It's the level 9 feature. We'll get there here in a minute. But so for right now, we're taking the Phantom Rogue. It fits because we are very into ghosties because of our totem spirit thing. We're into making sure that we are respecting and benefiting from the spirits of these animals, and now we're also respecting the people as well. So this is really cool. We get Whispers of the Dead at level 3, and so this is basically going to allow us to pick up an extra proficiency, and we can switch it around if we need to, which is pretty cool. I don't know of another subclass that does this. I mean, there are others that allow you to pick up skill and tool proficiencies, and then there's right tool for the job from the Artificer, but that's only for tools. It doesn't apply to skills. This applies to skills and tools. So that's pretty neat. And the fact that it's malleable, that you can change it, is also really cool. So that's pretty neat for outside of combat stuff, worth taking. And then Wails from the Grave just allows us to do a little bit of extra damage to a creature that's 30 feet from our normal target. So if we make an attack, we can take half the number of die that we rolled for our sneak attack and deal that damage to a creature within 30 feet, which is pretty neat. Not going to come up all the time, so don't think that it's going to be, every other encounter that you're going to be doing this, but it'll come up every now and then. At Rogue 4, we get another ability score improvement or a feat, and we're going to go ahead and take our feat here. It's actually a combo. It comes right in time with the level 5 feature from Rogues, and they complement each other pretty well. So we're going to actually take Defensive Duelist. It does have a prerequisite of having at least a 13 in Dex, and look at that. It's the same thing that we needed to be a Rogue, so we are covered. We're totally fine to take this. Basically, this allows us to use our reaction to bump our AC by our proficiency bonus, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is. It's absolutely fantastic, and I think that this is going to be something you're going to use all the time, and then you're going to have another use of your reaction. So basically, you should be using your reaction every single turn for something. yeah, every single turn you're going to be using your reaction for something. So this is really, really cool what this adds. Okay, level 9. We're jumping back to Barbarian for 1 level. We're gonna pick up extra attack here and fast movement. So now we're even faster, and now we can attack 1 more time. I know I put it off a long time, but I wanted to work on our AC. Our AC is going to need help. And come to think of it, I don't know why we wouldn't be able to use a shield here if you wanted to also bring a shield with the rapier. So just something to keep in mind. You could use a shield here, and they're pretty cheap to pick up, and definitely would be a great help to your AC. So something to think about. And fast movement, of course, gives us some extra speed, which is fantastic. Then level 10, we're jumping right back to Rogue. We're going to be a Rogue 5, and we get Uncanny Dodge. Basically, if we see an attack that hits us, we can use a reaction to cut it in half. Very simple, very effective, and so we're cutting it in half from that, and we have resistance to it. So we're cutting it into a quarter. We're negating 3/4 of the damage for our reaction. So basically, we can use our reaction to either make the attack miss or make the attack do 1/4 damage. I don't see the downside here. It's super, super good, right? So I love the ability to completely negate the damage with Defensive Duelist, but you can wait to use your reaction until after you know whether or not it's going to hit or miss based on your proficiency bonus. It's not a roll. It is a set number that you will know. And so that way you know, okay, well, they beat it by 5, say. Right now I don't have a proficiency of 5, so I can just go ahead and use Uncanny Dodge instead, and Uncanny Dodge will make that 1/4 damage rather than half, which is ridiculous that you can do that, but yeah, you totally can. And so we also get extra damage on our sneak attack here of 3d6, so just something to keep in mind. Level 11, we get Rogue 6, and we are getting Expertise, 2 more skills. I recommend taking Perception here for sure. The other is totally up to you. Nature works with the flavor of it, but you could also be like Arcana or History, just because you know you're dealing with the souls of the departed, so History would make sense too. So definitely, you know, whatever works for your character the best, definitely go with that. Level 12, we get Evasion, and now we are comboing this with Danger Sense. This is really effective for dexterity saving throws, which you're probably going to be seeing a lot of by this level. So basically what this does is, if you are taking a dexterity saving throw based attack, first of all, you have advantage because of Danger Sense, as long as you can see it coming. So then if you pass the check, you just don't take damage. You just don't take any damage. And then if you fail it, even though you had advantage, you take half damage instead of the full damage, which is then reduced to 1/4 damage. I don't know what you want. Like this is just a match made in heaven for just making sure this thing stays up and stays going at all times. So again, yeah, this is very, very potent by this level as far as survivability, and of course, more sneak attack damage. So Rogue 8, level 13, we get another ASI or feat. Again, we are done with feats now. That was the only one I needed. And so we're gonna go ahead and bump our Constitution up to 20. Again, this is a bulky build that also does pretty good damage, especially with the sneak attack, which we are able to generate ourselves. We're doing some good damage, don't get me wrong. But being able to be even bulkier with the Constitution maxed out is going to be phenomenal. Next one, we are of course going to max out our strength, so don't worry, we will get to a 20 strength and 20 Constitution by level 20, which is wonderful. I love that we can do that in this build, but for right now, Constitution is a little bit more of a priority. So Rogue 9, now is where things begin to break, but it's necessary for our level 20 prowess. Again, this is so weird. So we get Tokens of the Departed, And this is a very, very important feature for us because it allows us to do some really crazy stuff as far as allowing us to never die. So Tokens of the Departed, as you can see, is very complex. There's a lot going on. I had to split it into 2 pages because there's just so much going on. But so basically what it is if a creature dies within 30 feet of you, then you can create a tiny little trinket to appear in your hand that represents their soul. We don't know if necessarily the soul is trapped within it, or if it's just a representation of it, but there's also a part where you can you can ask a spirit questions when you destroy it. So basically you're releasing the spirit to the afterlife. So again, well, what happens when your friend goes down and dies, but then your other friend casts Revivify or Raise Dead, but you've already taken that token? Do they come back to life without a soul? Does the trinket go away? What do you do? What happens? It's left too open right there for me. So I don't know what the real call is. I haven't had any of these at my table. I haven't had any Phantom Rogues at my table, so I haven't had to deal with it yet. I'm really conflicted on how I would rule this. So I'd love to know in the comments how you guys think this works, because I'm genuinely interested. But besides that absolutely broken feature, let's go through what the book actually says that you can do here. So 3 things happen as long as you have a trinket going right now. So the first thing is, as long as you have one on your person, you have advantage on death saves and constitution saving throws. This is why we took 9 levels. Just by having one on you, you really don't need to ever destroy these soul trinkets. You just need to get one and hang out with it, and just make sure that this soul never gets any kind of peace. It's dark, I know, but you know, we're a Phantom Rogue. What do you expect? But yeah, so we need to just pick up one of these from something, and just keep that the whole time, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Also, we can, when we deal sneak attack damage, we can destroy one of them and immediately use our Whales of the Grave feature without expending a use of it, but I don't think it's that important that we do that. Yeah, but just having advantage on death saves and constitution saving throws is going to make a huge difference when we reach level 20, and you'll see why here in just a second. Also, sneak attack goes up to 5d6. So level 15, we finally make it back to Barbarian. It's been a while since we have done anything in Barbarian, and we're going to be getting our aspect of the beast. Our second look at our trinket, and what totem animal we want here. So right here, it's not as important what we take. I did take perception as one of our skills, so I'm gonna go with the eagle on this one, because now we have sight out to a mile, which is insane. And now we have a little bit better chance of being good at that because we have expertise in perception. So that's why we took that. We also get our 4th rage finally. Yeah, it only took 15 levels to get our 4th rage. It's fine. Level 16, we are a Barbarian 7, and we get Feral Instinct and Instinctive Pounce. We finally get advantage on our initiative. It's only taken this long, guys. Don't worry, it's fine. We also get Instinctive Pounce, and Instinctive Pounce is really, really awesome. I love this feature. Again, it comes online really early for Barbarians, but we've just been kind of putting it off, so it's totally fine. Barbarian 8, we get our final ASI or feat. Again, we don't need any more feats, so we're just going to max out our strength here. So our stats are looking pretty good. I really like this spread that we ended up with at the very end, so it is wonderful. Level 18, we are 9 in both, and we get our brutal critical finally. So we add even more damage when we crit. So yeah, as if we weren't doing enough damage on crits between our weapon attacks, because we have advantage between those and sneak attack and now brutal critical. Yeah, we're rolling a huge fistful of dice and doing a ton of damage, and it is wonderful. Plus our rage bonus goes up to +3, and so yeah, that's also good. So yeah, it's really cool. I love what we're working with here. But don't worry, level 20 is where this build is kind of at. Level 10 we get Spirit Walker, so we get another spell as a ritual, whatever. And we also get 2 more skills from Primal Knowledge. Not that it really matters at this late in the game, but it's totally fine. All right, so then level 20, you know, we wanted to just never die, and so this is our chance to just never ever die. At level 20 we get Relentless Rage, and honestly, for it being a capstone feature, it's really good just because of what we took earlier. So Relentless Rage, in case you forgot, when we drop to 0 hit points while raging and we don't die outright, we can make a Constitution saving throw and drop to 1 hit point instead. So the first DC is 10. And remember, as long as we have one of those trinkets on us, the soul trinkets, we have advantage on these because it's a Constitution saving throw. So we have advantage, and we have to make a DC 10, and our Constitution is maxed out, and we have proficiency because we're a Barbarian. Yeah, we're just not ever gonna die. I mean, it's ridiculous how sturdy this makes us. So the first one is pretty much guaranteed. Actually, it is guaranteed because you've got a plus plus a ton, plus like 11 to your Constitution saving throws, I think. +5 and +6. Yeah, +5 from your con and +6 from your proficiency. So yeah, you've got a +11. It's literally impossible to fail. So there you go. And this is also considering that you've also had Uncanny Dodge, Evasion, Danger Sense, all of these things the entire time. So yeah, this is also assuming you've had this. You've been taking pretty much a quarter damage or none the entire way to get you to this point where 11 of your levels were a D12 hit die. Yeah, it's also fantastic. And one thing to keep in mind, and this is kind of dipping into our honorable mentions, but you could have also taken a race that got a free feat, custom lineage, or variant human and gotten tough and just been even more bulky. Yeah, tough is ridiculous on this build. But we ended up not taking it because I would rather have the higher stats for this. Yeah, so then the DC increases by 5, so we would need at least a 15. We have advantage on it, and yeah, so as long as we don't roll a 3 or lower with advantage, then we're good. Or I guess a 4 or lower, because 11 would make it, so 3 or lower would be too low. And I mean, like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous how many times we can then get knocked out and get right back up with 1, and it's like nothing ever happened, and I love it. So yeah, this is our build for today. The person that doesn't die at level 20, just, you know, level 20, it's already hard to die, but like, this is kind of nuts. I absolutely love it. Definitely take a shield. I know I didn't mention that at the beginning, but definitely take a shield with this. It's definitely going to help you out a lot. All right, so honorable mentions as always. I had 3, and one of them just kind of wasn't going to work out. But I'm going to mention it anyway in case you are, you know, just crazy. But the first one is a Swashbuckler Rogue instead of this one. This gives us fancy footwork and would have allowed us to take a much smaller dip into Rogue. But, you know, it does give us, we still get the ability to dash, disengage, hide, which is fantastic. And fancy footwork allows us to basically, you know, get in, get out really easily. And I think that that's really, really wonderful. I think that you would be very happy with taking the Swashbuckler Rogue here. The other option is if we are trying to be the you know, the funnel, the person who is like, hey, come get me. The Cavalier Fighter is also a really good option here. This basically just allows us to be like, hey, come hit me instead. And you would then also get things like Action Surge. So that's definitely more on the damaging side, but also still, you know, you're a very bulky boy because of your subclass getting the aspect of the bear. So yeah, that's really, really nice. The last thing I thought of was a Hunter Ranger, actually. There's several things that the Hunter Ranger actually gets that would be really nice. The only problem is that it would be very multi-ability dependent, and it would be kind of the worst as far as just trying to get all of your stats where you need them to go. Your constitution would end up being way lower than what you want, which kind of defeats the purpose of the build. It could work. It's just not ideal. So just think about it, but it's not ideal. That is it for today's build. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next week, we're going to be covering the Wild Magic Barbarian, and we are taking a very different look at what a barbarian can be. So if you're excited to hear about that, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until then, we will see you later. Stay safe out there. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.